Peter Bukowski is here, Locked On Packers. Of course, his newsletter, The Leap, something that you should subscribe to as well. Very good squad show the other night after the Packers lost. I can never fall asleep right after a Packers night game. And it's probably worse for you on the East Coast. Like, I need an hour to wind down. So that's how I wound down. I watched some of your squad show and then obviously started my day with Locked On Packers today as well. So I'm all caught up. Are you well, Peter, before we begin?
I am exhausted, but I am well. I actually I used to work nights at Sports Illustrated. And so I had to learn to go to sleep right when I got home, or like I couldn't do it. Like there were nights I was working till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because the Final Four happens and it's 1. And then there's the hullabaloo, the confetti falls, and then it's interviews, and then someone's got to sit down and write the thing, and then I got to edit the thing. And so like there was one Final Four where Luke Wynn wrote the piece, I remember, and I was finishing my day as the sun was coming up. So I had to learn, when you're done, we got to just be done. I got to go to bed. I got to just be done. And luckily I was able to do it last night about 2:30.
I also had experiences in college and shortly after where I would go to bed as I could hear the birds beginning to chirp, but that was for very different reasons. But terrifying when you hear that. It's like, I am not going to be feeling good for a long time now. I was not that upset. I was feeling fine with this Packers result. It was a bummer, but a hell of a game, very entertaining. And if I wasn't a Packers or a Cowboys fan, I'd be like, man, that was a baller football game. Packers should have won. Is the number one reason they didn't win last night Matt LaFleur?
Oof. How about this? The number one reason the Packers lost last night was coaching, because I think it is a combination of Matt LaFleur, Jeff Hafley, and Rich Bisaccia. Like there's no question special teams cost this team the game. But you should have been able to put together a better defense here. I thought Jeff Hafley played one of the more uninspired games in terms of game planning that we've seen him put together. We knew Dak Prescott was going to want to get the ball out of his hands ASAP. He will take. He and Aaron Rodgers, prime Aaron Rodgers, and even late stage Aaron Rodgers, they will hang in there and 3-step and rip a seam ball or rip a go ball. Not very many quarterbacks will do that. Joe Burrow being another one. But they didn't push the ball down the field that many times. They were just wildly efficient when they did it. This was a game where they've been sitting on underneath stuff all year, Grant. Like the Washington game is a prime example.
I don't grind the film, but it has felt that way.
Yeah, Keyshawn Nixon had 5 pass breakups in that Washington game because they just did not believe the Commanders were ever going to be able to get the ball over their heads. And I don't know why they didn't bring that approach to Dallas. Dak Prescott wanted to get the ball out quick and they couldn't do it. And then the reason you asked me the question, right, leading the witness, Your Honor, is because of the conservative way the fourth quarter ended. It seemed like he played for the tie on the final drive.
In overtime or in the fourth quarter?
In the fourth quarter, that last drive felt like he was playing for the tie. Josh Jacobs breaks off a 25-yarder. You're in Dallas territory, and you run on 3rd and 1? Like, what are we doing?
Well, was that a matter of we need to clear this down in distance so we can eventually be in a position if we need to take a field goal? I got that more than I got.
But Grant, who cares? Because on 4th and 1, then go for it.
Okay.
Like if you don't get it, if you try and get a chunk on 3rd and 1, you still have 4th and 1. And then what you can do is if you have to burn your timeout, let's say, then you clock it.
Okay. Reasonable.
But you've converted on 4th and 1. You have to give yourself that opportunity. I thought it was, and then they get the first down. And what do? They run the ball again. It's like, come on, that can't be the idea. And so it seemed like he was so worried about Brandon Aubrey getting a chance to kick a 70-yard field goal at the end of OT that they just lollygagged their whole way down the field. And if you go back and watch it, and it's just a normal drive in the second quarter, you go, man, they are beating the crap out of Dallas. They are just getting whatever they want every time and converting with ease. Of course, after they have to convert a 4th and 6. But you go back and watch that, and you said you're not a tape grinder, but you go back and watch that on all 22. Like, it's an easy conversion. It looks like a difficult one on the broadcast angle, but like Jordan Love hits his back foot. Matthew Golden's wide open. You just rip it to him. They got whatever they wanted down the field, but no urgency at all. And there were a couple of times, Grant, I don't know if you noticed this, watching live, there were times when Jordan tried to get them to the line, and then it seemed like Matt LaFleur was like, no, let's huddle up. And they would come back out of it and slow it back down. And it was like, it was so slow and so methodical. Go win the football game. That's the thing. They had scored 24 straight points on their last 4 drives. Just go score a touchdown. That has to be the mentality. And I hate to do this, and your audience might get mad at me for doing this. It's just not how Dan Campbell would have coached the game. It's not how Kevin O'Connell would have coached the game, and it's not how Ben Johnson would have coached the game. Now, we don't have any idea if Ben Johnson is any good, but I'm telling you, it's not how you'd want. Is it how you would want Matt LaFleur to coach the game? No. And he said, in retrospect, if we'd have known that would have happened, we would have done it differently. You know what that is, Grant? A lot of words to say we screwed up. And we handled that poorly. It was bad situational coaching, and that's what cost them the game. What's crazy about it, Grant, is they were too conservative. They scored 40 points. Like this offense played a B plus kind of game and scored 40 points on the road. Jordan Love, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I thought he was outstanding in this football game. It just is kind of crazy that this is where this team is. Their offense no shows last week. They lose because of special teams. Their defense no shows this week and they lose because of special teams. What's going on?
It's very frustrating because it feels like they should have. If they're 3-1, I'm over it. I can swallow either this
3-0-1.
3-0. Let's just say they win one and lose one, just to make it very simple. I can tolerate that going into the bye. It's the NFL. It's hard, and you're not always going to win every single game that you're supposed to win. So I get it.
The tie is going to screw us both up at the end of the year when we're trying to figure out playoff scenarios live on the air. And you're like, oh wait, that's right. There's the tie in there. And I'm just like, I just already know I'm going to be so annoyed by it in December. It's going to be like, I hate it already. I hate it. I wish they just would have lost in some ways.
I like Matt LaFleur a lot. And I don't complain about jet sweeps. You might get this in your audience. Like anytime they run a jet sweep, it's just like a trigger for Packers fans. Even if it works, it's just like, oh, that's crap.
They called one last night and it worked.
You're right. What I don't get, one of my favorite expressions is gild the lily. I like old-timey expressions. I feel like they gilded the lily on offense last night and they didn't need to. Like, why do we need bubble screens behind the line of scrimmage? And why do we need to run sweep plays? Just let Jordan Love drop back and rip the ball. It was working. And they got I get it against the Browns. You couldn't protect. Like, you had to try other things. They didn't need to try anything out of the box last night. I don't get it.
Well, and the funny thing is there is this sort of paradoxical perspective on the game, because at once I think you're right that they tried to get a little too cute. And then at other times I'm just like, why are you trying to get so cute? Like why the single wing play action nonsense? Why some of the, let's run this receiver screen to Matthew Golden, who's like 6th out of 5 receivers of the guys that I would want to get a receiver screen.
Put a pin in that. I want to ask you about that next. Put a pin in that. We'll come back.
Okay. But so like they ran the same RPO 6 times on the last drive in overtime. And there's a reason Trayvon Diggs was ready to drive on the one to Matthew Golden at the end, because they had run it 5 other times and it kind of worked. Like it was fine. They were picking up yardage with it. And it's a great way to make things simple for your offense, because the offensive line is just like, okay, well, we're going to run block and then we'll see what happens. But he did, to your point, coach, like he didn't think they could block this Dallas front. And for the first half, they kind of couldn't. In the second half, they did it. They had no problems with it in the second half. And they continued to call plays like they were scared of this Dallas front. And that was the part that did not make any sense to me.
They've struggled run blocking, and maybe we can talk about that next. But you mentioned Matthew Golden. I have been very impressed with his ability to play wide receiver. When they have let him play wide receiver, I don't know why they do it more often. So give me your thoughts on that.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think they are a little afraid in some ways of this hierarchy question. Matt LaFleur says he hates it, right? We hate this wide receiver 1 question. But the only thing I can come up with for why they're giving Matthew Golden all of these touches that rightfully, if we're just talking about traits and scouting reports and what they're good at, should go to Savion Williams. The only reason you're doing that is because you just want to get Matthew Golden the ball. You have to find other ways then. You have to find other ways. And frankly, you have to just let the offense run. You have to just let Jordan Love find Matthew Golden. They were, if Love is looking at Golden off the rip on that 4th down throw, it's a touchdown. He gets to him late and didn't have time to check the safety. And so wasn't confident in it. I get that. Is like, I'm putting my fingers for the audience that is listening. I'm putting my fingers very close together, this close to a 90-yard touchdown against the Commanders, and then this close to a 90-yard touchdown against the Browns. And so they didn't have to do anything special. You don't have to do the jet sweeps. That should be Savion Williams' thing. You don't have to do the receiver screens. That should be Savion Williams' thing. And I understand it. It's different. Like some of the RPO stuff, Grant, like that's just built into your offense. And so that, like, you don't want to be predictable by formation. But there are ways to do this where it makes more sense than it currently does. I want them to let Matthew Golden play receiver. And this is very similar to what happened with Christian Watson. They were not letting Christian Watson early in his career play receiver. For whatever reason, they let Romeo Doubs just play receiver. And I think sometimes Matt LaFleur gets in this mode of like, well, I need someone to be able to do this for me in this offense. And so this is like, we're just going to do it with this guy. And I think Jayden Reed was like that for a little while, where it's like, I just need Jayden Reed to be able to do this for me. And forgetting that he can do all this other stuff as a receiver. Now they've eventually got there with him, but like it seems like they're just locked into some of these rigid structures that I don't quite understand why. But to your point, I think Matt LaFleur is a really good coach. I have confidence in Matt LaFleur's ability to get the most out of his players. I think by December, this team can be phenomenal if the offensive line is pretty healthy. I think this offense can be incredible, and we've seen the defense kick ass. So I'm not pressing the panic button. We saw them win the 2 games against the NFC contenders. We needed to see them win, but it's just weird right now what's happening.
I don't feel worse about their talent after the last 2 weeks. I feel a little bit worse, and I have questions about their ability to execute and be mature and to have taken a step past where they were last year. The only personnel question I have that maybe I didn't have 2 weeks ago is their O-line. Like, is that a legitimate concern?
Well, when their third string right tackle is playing, yeah, no doubt.
Guys get hurt though. Like, you know what I mean?
Guys do get hurt, but how many, like no team goes 3 deep. The Philadelphia Eagles don't go 3 deep.
Of course.
The Detroit Lions don't go 3 deep. Like if Penei Sewell weren't playing and Darian Kennard were playing, how different would that Detroit Lions offense look? I would say pretty damn different. And we saw them in the first game. The Packers, like they dominated that game up front. And we've seen the Lions since then dominate everybody else. Like that is in there. That's there. And I think Micah Parsons was awesome last night. It was Rashawn Gary who no-showed as a pass rusher, who was leading the NFL in sacks. It was Lucas Van Ness, he had one opportunity late, nearly got the swipe, nearly got the strip sack. The Packers were fingernails away from 2 strip sacks in this game. The Cowboys they made that one play. And so, and I'm not, that stuff is like that. That's how the NFL works. Every game comes down to 5 plays. And if one team makes 4 and the other team makes 1, you're going to get blown out. This was a game where like both teams somehow made 5 plays and it ends in a tie. And I can do without the phrases. We don't need to repeat any of those. I've never liked them, but this is a situation where I don't think the talent that we saw in weeks 1 and 2 was a mirage. I don't think that was fool's gold. I don't think we're on fraud watch here with the Packers. This is a really, really good football team.
I would agree. Peter Bukowski is here. Locked on Packers. Subscribe to The Leap as well. One more thing. This is a little bit of an old man take. I wish I could hit this harder today, but the Packers went and played a complicated game that I didn't think would be complicated. So I was like, I have this NFL thing I want to get to if the Packers just don't mess it up. But we're seeing all these kicks get blocked. And I watched the NFL pregame shows and stuff, and everyone's like, what a wild year in the air. There's something in the air. There's something in the water. No. I think this is an epidemic. I think this is bad coaching, bad fundamentals, not attentive in practice. That's what I think this is. And I hate that the Packers are complicit because I don't think you can win multiple playoff games in a row if you can't block up simple extra points or simple field goals or cover kicks.
Well, there's 2 things here, Grant. They don't practice it. Like you said, you listened to the squad show. Jeff Jagosinski was on it. Former offensive line coach, and he's like, you do not practice, like not. Oh, we just like once or twice a practice, or we only do it in training camp. No, they don't practice it. It doesn't happen because he's like, imagine if you lost because you have starting offensive linemen and starting defensive linemen, defensive starters playing both sides. Imagine if you tried to simulate it live. This is Coach Jags talking. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but if it's costing you games, don't you have to consider maybe trying it? Now, this is also part of, and I don't think this is an old man take at all. When they changed the CBA in 2011, they materially impacted the quality of fundamentals and coaching in the NFL because the offseason practices are not offseason practices anymore. They're in shells. They're not real practices. They used to be in pads. We used to live in a society.
Guys used to show up instead
of
football
players played football.
Yeah.
And the CBA changed that. And this is why offensive line is so bad. You can't develop players the same way anymore. Ask any offensive line coach, any scout, and any person related to football will tell you this is what's happening right now in the NFL. There's not enough development in college because there's not enough time. There's no continuity. NIL is only going to make this worse because coaching staffs are not going to have any time to see a player through 4 years of college. God forbid you have a coach who runs a system that fits his players. That's not a Badgers podcast that I have, but I do watch. I do have eyeballs. And so this is just something that's going to keep happening for as long as this keeps happening. I don't know how you change it at this point because you can't practice it. I think part of the problem for the Packers is they have never had core special teams players really since like Mike Holmgren. Like, remember, I can name, and maybe I just have a sickness, but like I remember Lamont Hollingquest and I remember Mark Pryor and the special teams players on the 90s Packers.
Jarrett Bush.
Thank you. That's 2010. That's so like those players were on the Packers for whatever you want to think about Jarrett Bush. Those players were on the Packers for years. Well, Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave was just thrown into field goal protect like 4 minutes before the game. Tucker Kraft has only been in the NFL for 2 seasons. Like this is not, you don't have core special teams players on this team. And so this is a problem. If you can't practice a thing, you have to have guys who know how to do it. And the Packers just doesn't seem like they have guys who know how to do it, A, and B, it doesn't seem like they have player or coaches who know how to coach it effectively either.
Well, I guess we'll just keep trying it and hope it works out.
Yeah.
I guess, by the way, in hindsight, maybe a couple practices at center would have helped Elton Jenkins this offseason. Just saying.
Might have. Yep.
This might have made a difference. Well, appreciate your time, Peter. As always, it's a treat to get you on. Thank you. And we will watch and subscribe and listen to Locked On Packers. Always. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.